64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 77. Meat Loaf, objects in the rear view mirror may appear closer than they are.
Welcome to I Caught It on Audio. In today's episode, we are continuing our Is This Song Good series. The theme this time around is Guilty Pleasures, and our next song is one that I picked, and it is a Meat Loaf song called Objects in the Rearview Mirror May Appear Closer Than They Are. I think the whole thing is part of the title. Yeah, all of it. Because there's no half measures in this song. This is off of the comeback album Bat Out of Hell 2, Back into Hell. And it's written and produced pretty much by Jim Steinman, who was a pretty big deal in the 80s and early 90s at least. I can't think of anything after that he did, but he and Meat Loaf collaborated on most of Meat Loaf's stuff from if I remember correctly. And the album version of this song comes in just over 10 minutes, and then they somehow edited it down to just under 6 minutes for the radio single. Excuse me. So yeah, I know, Dan, you've heard this plenty because you rode around in the car with me a lot, and I played it plenty back in the mid 90s. So, but Zach, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on this one are.
Yeah. I didn't really know that much about Meat Loaf when I was growing up, and I kind of, the perception I had of him as an artist was always that he was some sort of heavy metal rock god, because that's what the album covers seem to evoke. I mean, they reminded me of like he's Dio, and some of those other Judas Priest, some of those other bands that, you know, were like, it almost looked like the album art was trying to make up for something, like it was going too hard on the, you know, the demonic and like fantasy type of imagery. So that's what I always thought. And then this album came out in 1993, and of course, you know, I'm a young impressionable lad in those days, and I don't remember this song or the single or the music video, but I do remember the other one. What was it called?
I Do Anything for Love,
but I Won't Do That.
Yeah. And so when I heard that and when I saw that, I was kind of like, wait a second, what's going on here? This guy is supposed to be this heavy metal rock god, and that's not what I'm getting from this. So I kind of wrote it off and forgot about it, and it's you know, and then later on I found out about how he was, you know, part of Rocky Horror Picture Show, and again, like nothing really, like I sought him out or anything like that. So I knew of him, I knew some of the songs, and I'm pretty sure I've heard this one before. But let's start with the music video. So Michael Bay directed this music video.
That's right.
It's absolutely awesome. It's only 7 minutes and 42 seconds, somewhere around there. So it is lacking a little bit of the album song.
It's longer than the single, but shorter than the album track.
Yeah. Well, because they needed more time to evoke some of the imagery.
Yes.
And it's a lot of like sort of ghosting effects and him singing in fields and backyards. And then you've got the narrative, you know, you've got the whole, his best friend dies in a plane crash, and then there's what was the middle section of I remember the last section, because
the abusive father.
The abusive father, right? That was the middle section, and then the last part was the making love in the car with your lady at the edge of the town. But No, like so I watched the music video and then I was like, I need more of this. And so this is, guys know how I feel about like long songs and long things. Like if it doesn't do the stuff, if it doesn't do the thing justice, I don't really want it. And in this case, it does it justice and then some. Like the 10-minute version, in my opinion, is a perfect length, but it probably could have actually been longer and I still would have been okay with it.
Yeah, I feel like they ran out of room on the CD for what Steinman really wanted to convey with this song.
Yeah. So they had to kind of like pare things back and be like, okay, let's shorten this down and let's maybe leave off a couple of these other 20-minute tracks. But I really like how the song does like the three-part structure. It kind of, starts one way, weaves into another, goes into the next. I really like how it's sentimental and a little bit sad, but also kind of a little bit uplifting as well, in the sense that this person is conquering their past and their difficulties, and I absolutely love I think the title is perfect because it like on first glance it's just like, oh well, you're talking about cars, whatever, but really what it's saying is that our perception of the past is colored in a certain way that it sometimes things they're very present to us and we can't escape them, we can't get away from them, and other times they're really close, they're far away, there's all different kinds of gradients of how the past impacts us. And I like how the song explores that. I will say the only thing that I didn't like about it was it didn't have a saxophone. So I think missing part of it.
Some sax for this series anyway.
Yeah.
Inadequate amount of sax.
Yeah. I did like the fact that up until I think 2007, it was the longest song title of a track that made it into the Billboard the Billboard hits list. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I really liked it. I think it's an amazing song. I went even further. Like we're not going to talk about the album and the whole Bat Out of Hell trilogy. But I listened to the first album and then I didn't even realize there was a third album until I found out that there was on Wikipedia, and I had to go and track it down because it's not on YouTube Music. And I listened to that, and not my thing. They leaned really heavy into the new metal stuff. So
you're saying we need a Ride or Die series for Meat Loaf?
I don't know if I'd go that far, but but I will say this: like of all the tracks, of all the songs that we've done, and is the song good? This one, in recent memory anyway, this one really pulled me in and made me want more. Like not just the song, but what's the context that the song is a part of?
Yeah.
So Dan, what are your thoughts on it?
I think you could convince me to do a Ride or Die for Jim Steinman.
There you go.
Okay.
I'd love to hear all the other stuff he's done. There's something so campy and cheesy and still weirdly effective about the music he writes. With him and Meat Loaf and his vocal stylings, more is always better. And this is a great example of that. Yeah, I mean, we were like 15 when this came out. I think we were freshmen in high school, and I remember listening to it right after it came out. You let me the CD, and of course you cranked it a bunch. And yeah, I have an affection for all these songs. It's I think we knew it was over the top and cheesy even at the time, but that's just what it is, like it. I know some people think that Meat Loaf is ridiculous, and he absolutely is. And this song is a little ridiculous in a lot of ways, but it's right on the line between ridiculous and sort of sublime. Like it really goes for it, and so you sort of forgive its excesses because it absolutely does not hold back what it's trying to do. Just to talk about the video for a second. Michael Bay totally makes sense. I knew he directed the I Would Do Anything for Love video. And so, yeah, it makes sense that he would direct this video too. It's very Michael Bay.
And who else do you get to direct a Jim Steinman Meat Loaf epic, 3-part epic? Michael Bay is perfect for it.
Yeah. It's yeah, no, right. It's his style as a filmmaker is Steinman and Meat Loaf style as musicians, so totally makes sense. Were you guys mildly uncomfortable with the car sex
the
scene?
19-year-old model sitting on top of the 16-year-old
So
riding?
I looked it up because I was curious. The kid was probably 16 or 17 when this was shot. That woman's not. I don't think she's 19. I don't know. I couldn't figure out who she was, so I don't know.
She's uncredited, so
I can tell you,
either.
She looks like an adult, and she's made out like an adult. And the kid looks like a kid. He does.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's fine. And of course, they don't actually do anything. She's just. It just looks kind of.
She just uses her body like a bandage, Dan.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
It was
let's go back when being when an older woman taking the innocence of a young boy was totally cool. It's sci-fi.
Hey, it was the early '90s, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That
absolutely. Absolutely. I saw the video when I was 15, and I was not bothered by that aspect of it. But it just struck me. I was like, "Wow, that kid looks young." As I was watching it,
I watched the video on my computer in the office, and the door was open, and there's the whole with Tommy, and then the dad scene, and then the girl at the end of the street came on. I'm like, oh shit, the door's open. Wait, I'm not watching anything I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
It's fine. This is for research purposes. Yeah. The only other thing on the video, are you guys a little stunned that Robert Patrick wasn't the alcoholic father?
Yeah.
When you knew he was in there, I mean, I thought he was going to be the alcoholic. In fact, I was convinced he was not Kenny's father, but the narrator's father.
Meat Loaf's father.
Yeah, exactly. Throughout the whole opening section, and I was a little confused about it because, like, well, he's got to become like the drunk that like beats his kid, right?
Right.
Just because that's he just seems like he gets cast that way a lot of times as the bad guy, but.
Well, he's great. He's great as the villain, though.
Oh, so. Yeah, and I kept expecting him to do that, but no, he did a good job. It's he was probably one of the good points of the video in any sort of thespian sense. But it was the video is amazing. The song is amazing. Yes, it's ridiculous, but also amazing. So yeah, and this holds true for every other song on this album. I looked back at the track list. I was like, yep, I remember all these songs. They're all ridiculous and they're all amazing.
Yep.
You should be ashamed of yourself. And at the same time, you should not be ashamed of yourself for listening to it and liking it. I knew what to expect when getting back into it. And it was exactly what I remembered.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It was all Meat Loaf all week this week. I had no need to listen to anything else. Like we're not doing another series on the other channel right now, so I didn't have anything else I had to listen to. And I listened to this song. Now I would listen to this and then the next 4 songs that Google associated with it, and then I'd go back and listen to it again, or I'd listen to the whole album. And I loved it. It was a great week for music.
Well, I was curious, did you play it with, I know Jamie knows this album at least reasonably well, and I'm sure she would enjoy it, but has Jack heard any of this?
I'm sure he has. It will come on periodically just because it's in my thumbs up playlist. So I have no doubt that he's heard it, but whether he likes it or not, who
Nothing
knows?
Specific, yeah.
It's
sure certainly not cool.
No,
there's no doubt about that, and it's not. Current.
He's the same. He's the exact age we were when it came out. So he might be at a place where he thinks that kind of thing is cool.
Well, I'll tell you, in 1994, in the sort of grunge alternative rock era, I'm not so sure that this was cool then either.
No, that's true. But I love it.
It scratched an itch for a different type of music for sure.
It definitely sold a lot of albums, but it sounded like it sold a lot more in Europe than in the United States. I mean, it sold plenty in the United States, but it was like huge smash hit in Europe.
Yeah. So I just wanted to read this one comment from the YouTube video that kind of sums it up. And in a Meat Loaf, Jim Steinman way, I feel it sums it up because it is definitely a little over the top of a reaction, but it also kind of fits. So It says, I've never encountered a song/music video that so nakedly confronts trauma from a male perspective. It's so emotional and not just about sex and relationships, which is rare. At 41, the song hits differently. It's such a beautiful reflection in middle age on the experiences that shaped your character, both tragic and enthralling. And I think, I think that might be a little bit dramatic, but I totally can see that perspective too,
I imagine if it strikes a chord with you or you have a similar experience and you hear it at the right time, it can be very effective. I don't really think of it that deeply. From the very first time I heard it, I didn't really take it seriously, or it didn't really have an emotional impact as far as the lyrics. I mean, broadly speaking, the idea of being young with a friend and, and those friendships that have that intensity when you're like, 12 or whatever, and sort of that I could identify with, and I found that effective. And honestly, I didn't remember. I knew that they were there, but I didn't remember the abusive father and the model raping the kid in the back seat as well, because those didn't really those, I didn't really have a connection point to those. It was just like, oh yeah, this is over the top, sort of tragedy, trauma storytelling. But I didn't really feel like it really identify strongly with it. It just felt too mythic and not real to me. But I imagine for some people it hit them for whatever reason, or it's their style of lyric writing, that it was really effective. I can see that, but
yeah,
it wasn't that way for me.
Anyway,
I think we've done it. We've made the reaction to the song longer than the song.
Yeah,
I think
we officially had a longer run time.
Excellent.
All right, Dan, you've got our next song for next week, right?
We're gonna wander into my old days, listening to Christian rock.
Oh yes,
here we go. Here we go. The song, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. This is a little bit like Van Halen with Eruption into You Really Got Me Now. We're going to do the band White Cross. You guys know that band? You guys are fans?
I've heard of that band.
Okay. The song is Eternal Fire, and then it goes into You Will Find It There. I've got a link that combines the two. Let's just say that me and my neighbors who were super into Christian rock would definitely cue these up on our Walkman and our tapes, synchronize them, and then walk around the neighborhood listening to the whole album. And these two songs were my sort of strongest memories of them. And I went back and listened to it, and I was like, yeah, this is something. And you guys are both going to listen to it, and we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. Well, it sounds like it's going to be another fun week for music. If you like content like this, you can find everything we've done at 64tacos.com. If you really liked it, you can buy us a taco at buymeacoffee.com/64tacos. Thanks for listening.
I caught it on audio.